Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. And I've been receiving in a lot of questions for people who want me to go into the different segments of the recovery journal and get some videos organized. I keep my videos very free formed because I really want people to find their way organically. You can let the videos play. I am working on a book. I am working on having it all in one place, as well as putting together some group workshop and group counseling ideas. Right now my schedule is very full, and I'm working on some ways to kind of get some groups together that will be tight-knit, where we can discuss some of these issues and address some more of the particulars for people. I do like the structure that we're using right now. And I do appreciate your inquiries, your questions, your input, your comments, relaying your experience, because it all is validating to other people who have been through the same thing and have been wondering why and suffering, unhappy for so long. And really, it is, your time is precious, and it's so important to be able to recover that sense of now, that sense of mindfulness, that sense of freedom, and that sense of a little bit more percolating, tingly energy, where you're kind of like standing up, you're standing a little taller. Your voice is a little bit brighter. Life looks a little bit more pleasant. Life looks a little bit more safe. Things seem to be functioning. There isn't, plagues with depression. There isn't plagues with a lot of people fighting, backstabbing, using harsh language, or, the worst is, neglect, the quiet apathy, the passive aggressiveness. And really, I want to address, those people who have been in relationships with covert narcissists, basically who can only see, really as far as the end of their nose when it comes to really what they feel their involvement with others should be, and how they, it's a little bit antisocial in terms of what they are not providing because of the lack of empathy. And, a lot of people, it makes them very sad, if people who have empathy, that other people hurt. In other words, they don't want you to be bottled up. They don't want the covert narcissist to be, quote unquote, in the corner, not talking, telling lies. A lot of people then get into the whole conundrum, the whole tangle of wanting to help them or wanting to save them. I want to save the narcissist from feeling so shy. They're so quiet. They seem, to not really speak up. They want me to, do all the harsh work, all the cleaning, all the direction with the kids, and be the matriarch, or be the leader, be the queen bee. Be the busybody. And so that's why, you find a lot of these people attracting, one another, but then, basically, they end up living, a mask on the outside, and then like inside, there's always like a little bit something different that's always like nagging at them. Is that how you want to live your life? Is that, is something always nagging at you? Did I, it's always very strange when, somebody tells me that, decisions with their family, they're always a sense of doubt. Why would you want to live your life in a sense of doubt? That is no way to live your life. In fact, it is actually life, I feel, and, correct me if you feel differently, but life is to be very much the flip side, the opposite, where you're living in complete confidence and certainty. Yes, there's going to be some uncertainty, how's the weather today? What happened here? There's always going to be stresses, but by large, that uncertainty should not be your everyday chronic state. Pressure and stress in having to push and, force is not a natural state of being. So people have found themselves kind of in a very unnatural relationship where, it's kind of awkward. It becomes, something that people, sweep under the rug. They just keep going. They just keep the same habits. They keep, the part of the glue relationship together, but there isn't this liberation. There's constantly a sense of doubt, unaccountability, mistakes that should not happen. We're intelligent enough. This should not have happened. I don't want these, this, could have been prevented. And that's really, I would say, a lot of my passion is that I feel so much of the issues of time, of people's emotions are wasted in this conflict consciousness. If you think of your emotions as a commodity, as, like just a dollar that you put out, and where you put your emotion and where you put your focus and where you put your attention, it can create a lot of positive things in life. You can have a lot of positive relationships, live life, close to the heart, close to your sleeve, close to the ground. I mean, you are in tune. You're living a richer life. You're meeting people who have interesting stories, interesting backgrounds. You're able to honor and appreciate them, and you don't feel threatened, and you can share yours. Likely it's not a one of manipulation and one up, and because some people, they're plagued by dysfunction as kind of the overgirding culture, and oftentimes in the covert narcissist, it's kind of a quiet conflict that is permeating the air. In other words, you can, especially those people who are empathy, and if you live with a covert narcissist, your mirror neurons, your empathy is going to be more engaged because you're having to do a lot of the digging. You're feeling like, what is wrong with this person? You always have this inkling, so you always have to bring it up. And oftentimes there's going to be a denial, and they're just going to, they're going to give you some reason. And so, with the covert narcissist, if you're having that hurt and that plague, and you're looking how to kind of open up from that, realize that it's number one, it's to open up from within, open up individually. In other words, this is your time. This is your chance to open up. It's not about you and that, opening up. It's about you and kind of getting, getting rid of sort of those talents that have plagued you, because it's just an illusion. The fact your indebtedness to them, the fact that you have to pacify them, it's very scary kind of to let those people go. It's a change of mindset, and it is absolutely permission based. And that is part of the letting go, is that you need to do that, and that it is okay, and that's actually what life is calling you to do. And so oftentimes people don't know how to do that. So in my book that I'm working on several different sections, including a certain tempo of momentum and thought that I want you to reinforce and kind of get familiar with. And that is to look at the template, the mold that has been placed on you, perhaps by these individuals who have been manipulative, and how to kind of break free of that, and to look at especially the emotional tempo that has been set there, because oftentimes it's very deep and long standing. In other words, it might take some time for you to dissolve this limit or block or belief, and then move beyond and individuate. And individuate means you kind of coming out of the dark, you coming out of the corner, you coming out of the shame, you coming out of the social anxiety, which is really just a result of oftentimes feeling like other people were so much in control and that you had to give in. And so then when you try to go and live life, you haven't tried it yet. It's like you have to just go ride a black stallion, and you have never even, ridden, a pogo, rocker horse. It's just like, your anxiety, I don't know how to do this. I'm used to everything being so in control, or controlled by this, or attending to that. And so you've got that kind of like attention, and it's kind of part of your identity. And your identity is not meant to be like that. Your identity is meant to be much more liberated, free, positive, and, being able to think critically. And that is really one of the issues with covert narcissism is when you're with a relationship with those people, oftentimes you become so adept at empathetically, trying to connect to their wounds that it's and you're always there trying to pacify, even if you have not, physically or consciously acknowledged it. Oftentimes people kind of like live their life, as adaptive to this one person, because they feel so much for kind of their inner hurt, it's kind of like open up, and then your life purpose becomes trying to help them open up. And your life purpose oftentimes is like, you have more, life is calling you forth. There's more about your life we want you to go explore, and you keep, shutting it down, because the hurt is so here, and you become so attached to the hurt. And then your life takes on that same pattern and format, really. And you get the social anxieties because so much of that has been in control for, and that domination, it's like a quiet domination has been there. So a lot of people are not comfortable getting out of that role, or getting out of that vibration, getting out of that semblance in their subconscious. So I just really quick want to go into some questions now, and we're going to do more about this, as I mentioned, in the book. And these are really more question based, and questions meant to elicit and help you to open up and kind of open up your interests, perhaps that have been latent. When we talk about interests, these are things that you are drawn to. You don't have to explain the why, it just is. And if you can think back to, perhaps when you were a child, and things that you really excelled at, and maybe you didn't get a lot of attention. Maybe it was the way that you worked in your wood class, or your English class, or your math class, or the way you worked with school government, or things where you were kind of like in your element. That is where we want you to be, because really each person does have an element, and it's about honoring that. You can call it your life purpose. You can call it what you're drawn to, what makes you the best person you can be, but that is empowerment. And that oftentimes is a very solo thing. And it's very scary because people are, it hurts, I feel so alone, I feel so isolated. It's because you haven't given it, validation. You haven't asked yourself the right questions. You haven't tinkered around enough. Some people were shamed for having their interests. They were not validated. The covert narcissist didn't say, "Yay, good job." I mean, they're oftentimes going to be the last people to give you a pat on the back, give you the validation, because when we talk about personal development, you will develop, not just in a vacuum. You will develop along with other people, and if other people do not support and reinforce, oftentimes those decisions just begin to just become, they die off. They're just not rehearsed or not strong enough. It's just like if you were to never walk, your legs would lose its musculature. The same thing with your emotional happiness. If you don't exercise it, if you don't, work it out and give it that little bit of tension and release, happiness and then neutrality, happiness and neutrality, and kind of get the ability, the on switch within to kind of get that pumping, and kind of work through that inertia or that depression. You need to kind of go into that space and kind of put a little bit of energy into it, and a little bit of energy, and begin to kind of feel your emotions, get your positive energy into that space. And you all know what positive energy feels like when you see a winning game, if you like sports, when you see a beautiful dancer, when you hear a beautiful singer, when you see a beautiful building or a sunset or a sunrise, you feel this bit of happiness. So these are more experiences we want you to draw in consciously in the beginning. So, right now, if you've not done this, you're consciously incompetent, meaning, I'm aware that I'm not living my life the way that I should. You're consciously incompetent in that area. So in those areas now, we want to grow and become consciously incompetent. Consciously competent, which means, I need to kind of force myself. I need to learn. I need some tools. I need to reinforce myself. I need to hold myself accountable, or I need to go get accountability partner. These are things that I need to, I need to reinforce within myself. And if you don't reinforce it and follow up and begin to take action in the moment of your goals, then you're not getting the momentum that you need to really begin following it. And it's very much vision based, very organic, very feeling based. And those questions, I know that a lot of people have been asking. I apologize. We've kind of gone to a lot to be setting it up, but I want to go into those now so you can really get an idea of how to, unloosen that sort of hold or negativity or apathy that has been stuck from being, associated with these people. And so I want you to ask yourself, if I wasn't constantly having to focus on the needs and taking care of others, I would really love to try and then fill it in. If I wasn't so consciously aware of other people's pain all the time, I would really love to. And one thing that always catches my eye while I'm going through my day that I admire, I find that I really admire ... And one thing that I always see that I've felt that is kind of distant from me, but that I really enjoy is ... One thing that I find in everyday life that catches my attention, but I feel that it's meant for other people and not meant for me is ... One thing in being in a relationship with a covert narcissist that I've really noticed as a negative impact on me, even though it's scary to admit, is ... The scariest thing about accepting this and realizing it consciously is ... If I can live and make decisions in my own choices in my everyday life, I would definitely love to begin ... If you are, and I have a lot of these questions that I'm generating here, and these are designed to help you uncover, some of those really buried feelings, which are very scary. And oftentimes it makes people very sad because, they realize they need and want to change. So they're scared of change. Change is scary. Maybe they feel, I should have done this long ago. You need to forgive yourself. Life wants you to be where you're at. So once you fill in those decisions, so, maybe it is something that you have always wanted to follow up with, and you need to, you have always wanted to build something or, develop something or make a table or a chair or begin tile work, or, you're just interested to metalworking, and you want to do some sculpture, or you want to learn, you see people who are studying IT and you've always wanted to learn about coding. You all have different interests. Maybe it's interest with pets or with different foods or different sewing or, different paints. There's a lot of different things that you have admired during your day. And whether it's an object, you see people in relationships, you see people in jobs, and you begin to shut it down and say, that will never be mine, because I have like that, that ball and chain sort of relationship to those type of people in your life as a trauma bond, and that, you can't ever, turn away from that. So what I'm asking you to do is to turn away from that and follow up with those inklings and begin to write it down. And you need to, if you can number your page 10 to 20, at least 20, and begin just, don't analyze, don't think, I don't hate, if I had the money, if I had the support, all those things that when you're saying are holding you back, then I want you to say, well, if money wasn't an issue, if this person's ... is not an issue, then I would really begin to. And you just need to, really get that straight and get excited and begin to write it down in your appointment book. And just go and do it, change your life, make that small little move that oftentimes people get so scared by. They're like, oh no, what is this going to mean now? Does it mean I'm going to have to do this? Does it mean I'm going to have to go meet people? Am I going to have to focus is this going to be hard? It's going to be easy, because once you begin to write it down, you'll be able to reinforce it and then follow up with it for yourself. It's where you drop the ball, in reinforcing for yourself in the beginning is really why people quote unquote fail, or they never discover their life purpose. But it is yours. It is your life purpose. It is your happiness. It is your expression. It is your identity. It's the identity that's pushing forth from within, not being pushed, on you from without. So it's really kind of an uncovering and then an accepting. You might love things that, someone told you, you should never have pets. They're dirty. You might love pets, you might want to be a potter, and you might want to throw clay. You might not know where to get this stuff. Well, you can go and then go to an art store and just begin talking to people. Begin researching clay on the internet. Begin to look at other great potters and see the work that they've done. Study it from different cultures. See, what's contemporary, what's older. Begin to develop in that area, and then schedule in time every week to follow up with that. But you need to take action immediately. I mean, as soon as you're even watching this video, you need to do 1 or 2 steps in that direction. Even if it's writing it down and then taking that next step, finding a place where you can follow up on the next step. So maybe, your decisions are to go out and meet more people or go see more live music. Well, begin researching some tickets, or find some band or a local band or a big band that you've wanted to see. Begin following up with these things. Begin to make choices. Begin to break free of all that certainty, because once you begin to decide and make choices, you'll develop the certainty within that you've been looking for within this person who is not there really to be able to give it to you in the way that you are desiring. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.